Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to one and all. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, Adab. आप सबका welcome to the channel and I am Harshvardhan back again with another editorial analysis and आज का editorial analysis GS2 के point of view से काफ़ी ज़्यादा important है. This editorial has been published by M.K. Narayanan and he is a former director of Intelligence Bureau. He has also served as National Security Advisor and he was also the former governor of West Bengal, which means he has served a long term with the government and whatever issues and the manners in which he is highlighting the problems is important for us from answer build-up point of view. The editorial is about reshaping the world's responses to the terror matrix. Now, terror matrix, when he uses the term, he means the interlinkages between different terror outfits, their objectives, their reasons, their purposes, and their areas of cooperation. He starts by mentioning in the first paragraph that there have been a lot of debate and discussion going on around for taking counter-terrorism measures worldwide. For that very purpose, United Nations Security Council has convened a special meeting on counter-terrorism committee, which India was chairing. There was a third meeting of the No Money for Terror conference. There was also a Interpol conference held in New Delhi. All of these conferences on security were basically talking about ways to counter terrorism. Now, India has been leading the relay race to initiate a discussion to define terrorism globally, to end the biasness for stating some terrorists as good, some as bad, some as liberation forces, whereas other as terror outfits, and has called on the global community to define terrorism uniformly. But these conferences have not yielded much consensus as we were expecting them to be. They have not been able to create a coordinated fight against terrorism. India and Pakistan are still engaged in mudslinging, causing each other the reason, the factors for giving impetus to terrorism. The world continues to go on its own path. And this does not indicate that there is going to be any joint effort on terrorism. So I'm going to take next 7 minutes of yours and we are going to wrap this editorial in the next 7 minutes because we discuss editorial in 10 minutes, all the important editorials. Let me come to the conclusion part. The other parts I'm going to tell you point wise. Author has stated that it is clear that we need a counter-terrorism agency across the world to function in what manner? More coordinated manner, where they need to share intelligence as well as tactics. They need to understand the newer patterns of terrorism, such as enabled terrorism, remote control terrorism. They also need to understand the positions, the dangers that internet-enabled terrorism poses before the world today, how the terror operations, terror groups are communicating with each other in gaming, and all of them have basically a united implication for the global community. Terrorism has a long-term impact. This PDF will be available in the description, you can check. So the world needs to have a joint effort on counter-terrorism measures. With prelims point of view, you can read about these three conferences. So you can read about CTC of UNSC, you can read about No Money for Terror conference, and you can read about Interpol. Moving further ahead, now author mentions with the slightest clue that this is a threat to future generations. Terrorism is a bigger threat to future generations. Because if you notice in the beginning of the 21st century, there were two worst terror attacks that have taken place. First was 9/11 attack 2001, the Twin Tower World Trade Center attack in New York, followed by 7 years later, the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks in different locations. The Mumbai terror attack revealed the nature of state-sponsored terrorism, because we know that from Pakistan all these terrorists had come. And the 9/11 attack tells us that this was the new age, the new dawn of terrorism. New dimensions of terrorism were being added up. This reflects that the terrorism forms have been continuously changing, which is also evident now. And this leads to the rise of new terror outfits which are gaining motivation from their past experiences, or little, you can say, results that they are getting right now. Also, the author highlights that the global community needs to address that these terror conglomerates, यानी बड़े बड़े आतंकवादी संगठन जो हैं, इनके बीच में एक नया पैटर्न देखा गया है बातचीत का, कोऑर्डिनेशन का. These are the issues that the author is highlighting. Now he tells you the affected areas of the globe, Africa and West Asia. Africa and West Asia are basically threatened by new terror outfits like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. They have waged their worst attacks. Asia, the remaining part of the Asia and Europe, is in the crosshairs of terrorist groups. And these terror groups have found safe havens in Afghanistan. Author directly mentions Afghanistan but does not mention Pakistan directly. However, terror outfits are present in both of these countries. This reveals that these terror groups also have some sort of political connections. Now, this could be either because of ideology, sharing of ideology, or because of sharing of religion, or because of similar religion. So, which also reveals and reflects the fact that these terror outfits have an advocacy role also, which they are apparently playing in Afghanistan and Pakistan. They are also advising the governments over here. Now, these terror groups, since the world is taking joint effort on them right now, they are getting more and more decentralized, and this creates more threat. अलग अलग टुकड़ियों में टूट के अपने अलग अलग जॉइंट ऑपरेशंस कर सकते हैं, ये अलग अलग तरीके से कोऑर्डिनेटेड एफर्ट्स ले सकते हैं. जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं कि तालिबान सरकार जो है, जो कि अभी चल रही है अफगानिस्तान में, उसके अलकायदा से काफ़ी घनिष्ठ लिंक है, और ये सब जुड़ा हुआ है हक्कानी नेटवर्क से, जो कि पाकिस्तान से कनेक्टेड है. ये उस रीजन में एक नया एरिया दे रहा है ट्रैक्शन का, कंट्रोल का. किसको? अलकायदा को. इसका मतलब पॉलिटिकली these are so intertwined with each other that we cannot choose to ignore this. As per the editorial, the major factor for this bonhomie, for this camaraderie, is their ideology and religious extremism, which is leading to a new form of terrorism. However, international conferences fail to reflect and understand this and address this. India has recently faced a very small intensity attacks and attempts in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. This portrays that there is a possibility of a bigger threat which might be in existence. However, author says that serious terrorist threats have declined. But this decline does not mean that terrorism has ended. It still remains. Terrorism still remains. So what are the implications? What are the possibilities of bigger threats in existence for India? First is that this can lead to a growth, sudden growth in radicalization of youth, Indian youth, local youth, which might also reflect that new organizations can be created which have local roots, a bigger threat, security crisis in India. However, the incidences in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka reflect that there is a sizable presence of these terror outfits in southern regions of India. And this can become again problematic because it is easier to have a global terror outfit linkages from southern India by way of sea routes. What can we do about it? This is the real answer. And this is where you need to focus. This should come in your notes. We have 1 minute to go. So we can basically understand that the decline in terror incidents should not be misunderstood, that the terrorism is declined. We need to be more vigilant. Our agencies need to have a mechanism, an infrastructure where they can foresee what these terror outfits are doing. We need more surveillance. We need to define commonly terrorism, whereas all the global agencies give joint recognition to all terror outfits. The differences between good terrorists and bad terrorists have to be ended, and we need to have a common definition. India has proposed an international convention in 1990s, which is called as CCIT, which chooses to define terrorism, Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism. However, ये यूनाइटेड नेशंस में धूल खा रहा है ये कन्वेंशन, कोई इस पे बात नहीं कर रहा है, कोई इसको अडॉप्ट नहीं कर रहा है, कोई इस पे साइन नहीं कर रहा है. करना चाहिए. So this, we need to have a convention on international terrorism as per India's proposal. And these counter-terror agencies across the globe need to have a mechanism where they can take joint efforts, where new learnings and skills can be developed and shared. Information infrastructure has to be created and globally shared. These all factors can prevent the new forms of terrorism, including remote terrorism, internet terrorism, and online games. So we, in this editorial, we have discussed what are the factors that are leading to a lack of global effort to counter terrorism. We have discussed what are the threats in the 21st century, what are the new forms of terrorism. We have discussed that what are the worst affected areas and how these terror groups are having political linkages and trying and are able to get safe havens in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We have also understand that what are the root causes, the ideology and religious extremism, which can lead to new problems of radicalization, sizable presence in local roots, and creation of new organizations with global terror linkages. And we have also discussed the 4 solutions, where we have discussed that joint vigilantism, common definition, adoption of a convention, and global sharing of information can prevent new forms of terrorism. This was Harshvardhan Tripathi signing off from today's editorial analysis. Your opinions, your comments are welcome. Do let us know how did you find this editorial. I am using English language as a medium because both Hindi speaking and English speaking students are comfortable with it. The content is already in English, and we have a lot of traction from South India, so they have difficulty understanding Hindi. So we are using this English as the mechanism. You can choose to tell your opinion to us in the comment section. Thank you so much. Good day.